Hello, welcome to our session on fixing common confusions. My name is Michael Hunter, and I'm a co-founder at Readsters. In this session, we're going to introduce some successful strategies to fix 4 common early reading problems. And then we're going to share some materials that we've created to practice these strategies. Why do these confusions need to be fixed? Well, these confusions can get in the way of fluent and accurate reading. If students are having to guess at words or letters or vowel spellings, it's going to affect their fluency and therefore can put their comprehension at risk and keep them from being proficient readers. So we need to fix these issues and have our students be successful readers. Now, in order to fix these strategies, in order to fix these confusions, excuse me, not the strategies, the confusions, we need to practice the strategies in isolation. The students will need to practice doing whatever the strategy is that we're going to share with you without the distraction of having to do other instructional tasks where they can just focus on simply changing this one habit, straightening out the confusion. And it really is kind of a habit change, creating a new wiring in the brain to resolve the confusion, because the confusion is actually a habit too. So by doing isolated practice where the student is only thinking about this strategy and applying it and practicing it, they can then practice to mastery, which means that they can do it accurately, even if it's not 100% fluent or fast. And then with more practice, they can move to automaticity, which is where we want to, the goal that we want to get to. And automaticity means without conscious effort. So I've been driving for, I'm not going to say how many years, but I know that I can drive my car without consciously the whole time thinking about driving. My feet automatically know where to go. I know when to slow up and slow down without consciously thinking about it. And that's the kind of automaticity that we're talking about, that we're trying to achieve with these practices. So let's start with fixing BD confusions. This is a well-known confusion, often mistakenly thought of as a symptom of dyslexia, but interestingly enough, dyslexia is a phonologically based disorder, whereas confusing your B's and D's is all about confusing shapes. It's not about sound, which is what phonological is. So it's not a indicator of dyslexia. To fix the problem, we have 3 steps. We actually 4 if you want to include the introductory step. The introductory step is we teach the students about their B hand, which is going to be their anchor. And then we have them practice reading letters or naming letters, randomly mixed letters with lots of B's and D's scattered in. And they use their B hand to check whenever they come to a B or a D. They compare it to the shape of their B hand, which I'll show you, and determine if it's a B or a D. Once they can automatically do that using their B hand as a check, then we take the B hand away and have them practice to automaticity of correctly naming B's and D's in a mixed grid without actually having to pull their hand out and check. It becomes internalized. And then finally, if students are able to read real and nonsense CVC words, we can have them practice reading lists of words with B's and D's, such as Bob and Bad and Dad, those kind of words with lots of B's and D's that can easily be confused if you're still confusing your B's and D's, and practice that to mastery. I'm going to show you what the B hand looks like, but I'm going to do it with a video clip. We were fortunate enough here at Readsters to work with the Reading Rockets website people to do a series of videos looking at intervention lessons. My business partner, the other co-founder here at Readsters, is the teacher in these videos. I really recommend you check out Reading Rockets, Reading Interventions, find the videos. I'm only going to be able to show you short little clips, but I think you'll like what you see here, and I know you'll like them if you get to see the whole thing. And if you want to know more about the BD strategy and see more of it in action, you can check out this episode 4. So let's meet Aiko. And
do you ever get your B's and D's mixed up? Sometimes? Well, let's see if we can't fix that. Aiko, we're going to work on fixing that. So we're going to learn about our B hand. Would you put your B hand up like this and make a fist? And then put your finger out. Okay? And that is your B hand. And I'm going to show you why it's your B hand. Go like this. I'm going to put this down here, and this letter is a B. And your hand looks like this letter. Can you see that? We have the circle right here. Where's the circle on the letter? Point to the circle on the letter. And where's the circle on your hand? Yeah, right there. Where's the stick on the letter? Show me the stick on your finger. This is your B hand because the stick is on the same side of the circle as your finger. So your finger and the stick are on the same side of the circle. Do you ever?
so you've seen the B hand. There is another option that I'll show you on the next slide for another formation of the hand. But before we talk about that, why no D hand? Well, we don't teach a D hand because if you're confused about the shapes of the letter B and D, and you're looking at two hands, one looks like a B and one looks like a D, that's just as confusing. So we anchor with the B, just one anchor. And if you look at the letter and compare it to your hand and it doesn't look like your B hand, then it has to be a D, and vice versa. This is the other option for the hand shape. Make a fist and stick the thumb up instead of the finger up. Let's go back and watch Aiko and Linda practice.
So hold your hand up here. Okay, so I'm going to go A because I don't need my B hand. But do I need my B hand for that letter? Yes, I do, because that's a B or a D. So I have to put my B hand, and let me see, is that a B or a D? Which one do you think? Oh, where are you going to look?
Down.
Yes, okay, is that a B or a D?
B.
Let's try that. Put your B hand next to that. Okay, is your finger on the same or a different side?
Different.
Different. So is that a B or a D?
D.
Yes, and we're going to keep looking down. Remember, you don't get to look up until I stomp, okay? So now I want you, we're going to go just right to here, okay? So watch me. A, D, S, B. You do it. Okay, put your hand up here for the A. Okay, do it.
A, D, S, B.
Okay, now, see how far away your hand is? You got to go like this. And you know where you looked when you read? You looked at me, but where are you supposed to be looking?
Here.
Yep, at the letter. So, okay, so we did those 4. You do these 4. And
Right
this
here.
is,
B.
you got it. Do you think you can do 10 in a row? I think you can. Let's try it. Okay.
X, B, D, A,
Hand down. Is your finger on the same side or a different side?
different. So,
So-
it's a D.
Yes, okay.
O, B, C, D, J.
10 out of 10, that's 2. So hold
Okay, so you saw Aiko practicing there. This was her first practice. And you can see she's starting to understand how to use her hand and check. This is the practice page that we would set up for her. It has, the first line has 3 B's and 2 D's. So the next line will have 3 B's and 2 D's, and then mixed in with other letters that she should already know. And her job is to first just get 10 in a row, and then we will tell her how many she got right, positive error correction, and then she'll try another row. Her job is to try to get 3 rows correct, and that will be practice for a day. If she gets all the way down to 10 and still hasn't gotten 3 rows right, that's enough practice for one day, and we'll come back and try it again. Do this every day. That's the ideal. This is habit change. We literally are changing habit here. And by the way, I noticed that Aiko has another practice, that a habit that she's going to have to learn, which is actually looking at the letters and paying attention. She tends to want to look up, but this will fix that too. So the more frequently you can do the practice, the better. If you can only do it once a week, it probably won't work. 3 times a week, I would say, be the minimum, but it doesn't have to last long. Once they get started, it doesn't usually take them too long to get their 3 rows. But even if they get all the way to 10, that's okay. That's enough for a day. Let's come back and try again tomorrow. Now, positive error correction, we always like to tell the students how many they got right before we go back and fix any errors. So if you got 9 right, if you got 5 right, let's fix the ones and then move to the next row. The goal is to get in the practice, first just get your 3 rows. Then your next goal, moving towards proving automaticity, is that you're going to get, you're going to get the first 3 rows that you try. You do that 3 days in a row, you have completed a step. So if you're practicing with your hand, you get 3 lines. The first 3, no errors, 3 days in a row, then you can start practicing without your hand. This is a words page with words like did, bun, cob. You can see lots of B's and D's to practice with. There are some blends on the page, so students will need to be able to read blends to use that page if you use ours. So mastery is demonstrated by 3 cold reads, 3 lines, 3 days in a row, first time. This can be done in small group. We do recommend about 3 students maximum. And if you've got 6 students that need BD practice, then do 2 short practices with groups of 3. It'll be more efficient. We have the students who are not reading when it's not their turn to read. We hold them accountable to be checkers, which means they follow along on the same they have a copy of the same letters and they follow along. And then before the teacher tells the students how many they got right, she says checkers, and checkers either give a thumbs up, which means you got them all right, or a helping hand, which means I think you needed some help. And then the teacher takes over from there. So that's a way to keep a group practicing, keep everybody engaged and doing some work, while each student gets a turn to try to get their 3 rows. We do this similar practice for fixing common letter names, or it could be sounds in this case. BD, by the way, is never a sound confusion, it's a shape confusion. But often students will confuse, say, for instance, J and G. We do the same thing in that we give the student an anchor for one of the pair of the letters that they're confusing. In this case, we use J, and the anchor is that the student points at the dot over the J and says, J has a dot J. When they get to a G, there's no dot, so they just simply name the letter G. They know it's not a J because it doesn't have a dot, and that's the practice they're going to do. We have several of these anchors that we've created for common pairs, and this page is in your handout. It's also from our practice packet, but I put it in the handouts. If you want to create your own practice sheets, you'll have the anchors to work with. So in each pair, one letter will have an anchor and the other one does not. we like to put 10 letters on a row, 5 of which are the confusing letters, 2 or 3 on of the 5 on each row. And then the other 5 are other letters. And if we have 10 rows on a page, that gives you a nice page to practice from. You can use the same page over and over again, because if the student is not, if they're confusing the letters, they're not going to be able to memorize the rows. Okay. Our third strategy for fixing confusion with pairs of similar high frequency words that get confused is very similar also. However, one big difference is that some pairs of high frequency words that get confused, for instance, was and saw, lend themselves to having what we call, instead of anchors, we call them scaffolds. And we give a scaffold for both the words in some of the pairs. So for was, saw, the student would look at the word was, underline the W, say the sound that W spells, so they would go woo, was, saw for saw. Some pairs lend themselves to just one scaffold, similar to the letters, where we focus on one word having the anchor, and then the other word is got to be the other word. So where is a pair that we treat with one scaffold, and the scaffold is the student underlines, excuse me, the WH in where and says, where loves H, where. And if it's the word were, they don't have a scaffold. They know it's not where because it doesn't have an H. And so they read were. So we teach the scaffolds, practice those, and then use practice rows with decodable or high frequency words. It's a mix, and they practice reading the words. So here's how it would work with saw was. S, saw, w, was. Here's where were, same kind of setup. And here we only have the one scaffold, so it's woo. Oh, excuse me, not woo. It's where loves H, where. And were, no H, so we don't underline anything and we just read were. So where loves H, where, were. And that's the practice. I've also put in the handouts the scaffolds that we have created for the common words that we run into being confused. And there's some that have just one and some that have scaffolds for both words. The last confusion that we want to share is silent E confusion. And any teacher who has taught first grade has experienced with some students when silent E is suddenly introduced. We've been reading nothing but short vowels, one vowel in the middle or not at the end, reading short vowel, short vowel, short vowel, and suddenly we introduce a new sound, a long vowel sound, and a new spelling pattern, which is two letters not even next to each other spelling one sound, because that's really what's happening in the silent E pattern. And suddenly every word gets an E at the end when we're spelling, and every word is read with a long vowel instead of a short vowel, even if it should be a short vowel. And excuse me. And then it gets straightened out for some students, and then some students don't. So let's meet Michael from the Reading Rockets videos, and he is a third grader who is struggling with the silent E pattern. And you're going to see Linda demonstrate the strategy, which is when you read a short vowel word, it has one vowel letter, you touch and read one with one finger. When you read the silent E pattern, the A and the E or the O and the E that are not next to each other, you use two fingers, one touching each of the vowel letters, and read the long vowel sound.
Now I'm going to do some teaching, and I'm going to see if you can get this 100% next time, if you can get all the words right. And here is the teaching we're going to do. We are going to learn about silent E. I bet you've heard silent E before, haven't you? Okay. So we're going to learn something called two-finger touch and say. So when you touch with one finger, you're going to say ah. That's the short A sound. So touch with one finger. If you were write your name, would you? Yeah. So touch with this finger.
Okay.
Okay? So, okay. When we touch like this, we're going to say A. When it's an A and an E together, go A. Can you do that?
A.
Okay, so go.
A.
Now watch me touch and say this word. Mad. You do it.
Add. Mad.
So I used one finger to touch that A. Now watch this. When I have this, I have an A and an E, so I'm going to use two fingers. So watch me. Made. You do it.
A. Made.
Okay, and you go like this. Made. You do it.
A. Made.
Okay, so you know about two-finger touch and say. See if you can do that whole row, 10 words, and you're going to do A and then read the word, okay? And make sure you get your fingers right. One, you can go slowly. I don't care how fast you go.
Stack.
Okay, let's try that. What happens? What happens when
A.
you...
Steak. Stack.
Touch that with one finger.
Stack.
What?
Mad. Fat. A. Made.
Okay, so you've seen one finger and two finger. The two-finger touch and say, guys, is very powerful. It focuses the student on starting to see those two letters that are not next to each other but are spelling one sound as a pattern, and to read ahead in the word before, if they have to sound it out, and read the long vowel. Now, this practice packet has many pieces to it because, of course, there are 5 short vowels and 5 long vowels. We do short A and long A, and then move to another pattern. But then we keep rehearsing the first pattern that we've done until you've accumulated all 10 vowel spelling patterns. And of course, the same practice with the scaffold or the fingers, and then without the fingers. So at Readsters, we developed these strategies working with students and found that they worked. So then we decided to create some practice packets so that teachers could easily have the materials to work these practices. So practice packet number 1 is our Fixing BD Confusion. And this is available as a downloadable PDF file from our website. And it has everything you need, including scripts for teaching the B hand, for how to work the practice, has tracking sheets for the students. There are individual tracking sheets and group tracking sheets if you're working with a small group of 3, and it's set up for that. There's the word practice pages. There are 5 of the letter practice pages. So everything you need to do the practice BD to mastery. Also, our newest version of the BD packet has special materials for working with kindergartners who are just learning letters and have the BD confusion. The letters are larger. The scaffolding to teach them about the B hand is a little more explicit. Practice packet number 2 is our Fixing Common Letter Names Confusions, and it also has everything you need to practice many of the commonly confused letter pairs. If you should happen to run into a student who has a letter pair that's not in the packet and you would like practice sheets, email us and we'll generate them, because we always like to generate new ones so that we can eventually include them in the packet and have as many pairs, but we have quite a few in there. And again, tracking charts for either small group or individual students, and practice pages and teaching the scaffolds pages. Practice packet 3 is our Fixing Common High Frequency Word Confusions. So the saw, was, where, were. And there are pages, practice pages for those, and tracking charts that you need, everything you need to do that. And lastly, practice packet number 4 is our Fixing Silent E Confusions packet. This is a little more complicated because, as I said, you're teaching 5 different vowel patterns, silent E patterns, and contrasting that with the short vowel pattern, and you do cumulative practice. So there are actually 7 steps that you go through to master all of it. But we have everything again that you need for that. And scripts for every step of the way. So it's completely foolproof. You can just follow the scripts each time you're teaching a new step. So if you're interested in our downloadable PDFs, we offer them through our website. You can pay with credit card on the website, download the packets. We offer combinations, any combination of 1, 2, 3, or 4. We make each combination, if it's just 2 or 3 in a combination, it's going to be cheaper than buying them individually. So you can buy each packet individually at $25, or you can buy all 4 for $55. Also, we're offering discounts on these for Plain Talk participants, and you'll find that in the handout with an order form that you can use or refer to if you buy online, but it has a coupon code that you can do if you buy online with credit card. We do take PO. The other option we have is that if you don't want to have to print out the PDFs, we do offer the Practice Packet Notebook, which we print and ship. And that has all 4 packets in it for the price of $80, but with the $10 discount for you participants at Plain Talk, it would be $80, no shipping, because we would have to charge 10% for shipping. So that's our practice packets and the strategies. You please feel free to practice the strategies with materials you create on your own. If you need help creating those, email me at readsters.com. It's Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, at readsters.com. If you have questions about any of this, please contact me that way as well. And I look forward to hearing from some of you. And I hope you have found this short session helpful. Thanks for your time.